plane ride.
Yeah, when you think, I mean, it's just still inside like Western Europe kind of.
The flight attendants wouldn't let him hold the check like in front of him in the seat, so he had to put it in the overhead compartment, and it got mutilated.
Right, I can imagine. That's kind of that's really unfortunate.
All right, so we're into the match, and this is Ben Hayes against Dan Jordan. Ben Hayes on the play with an island and then passes. Dan Jordan has a Noah Hierarch for turn 1.
So looks like Dan's on Bant. See his Swords to Plowshares in his hand. Maybe at Bant Blade kind of thing. I'm not totally sure. We don't have the deck lists. We will get those
Dan
momentarily.
Jordan, an up-and-coming pro player.
Yeah,
Dan's from my local area, and he was kind of a mainstay of the PDQ scene, always top 8ing, always doing well. Everybody knew he was good. And now, lately, we've been seeing Dan Jordan on the Pro Tour and Grand Prix level.
Yeah, Dan, I believe, won back-to-back SCG Boston Opens. Back in, I think he won fall 2010, and then April 2011 was the next time we went out to Boston, and he won again. So the force is with him up there. Ben has resolved, or looks like he has resolved Stoneforge Mystic, and he's on, I believe it's Esper Stoneblade. We watched him a little bit yesterday. I forgot about that. He played against Ben Friedman.
He had that miraculous comeback in Game 3 against Ben Friedman thanks to Zealous Persecution.
So we have a Swords to Plowshares from Dan on the Stoneforge Mystic, and Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, joining the team on Dan's side.
You know, you always think about Thalia as this card that's just backbreaking on the play. Thalia's pretty backbreaking on the draw.
Yeah. So now all of Ben's Doomblades are Dark Banishings. He's not playing Doomblade, but if he had Doomblade... I kind of want to play Thalia in a deck with like Stifle and Wasteland and, you know, really punish somebody.
Now,
there's a
thanks to 2 Exalted triggers, this Thalia is going to be attacking for 4 damage.
And Swords to Plowshares.
And Ben chooses to do that with the Exalted triggers on the stack, so Dan's only going to gain 2 life from that, not 4. That's a beta Swords to Plowshares. It's pretty nice.
And Scavenging Ooze from Dan Jordan.
The original Swords to Plowshares picture is a picture of me after I bought some wallpaper, bringing it home. That's how I dress normally.
When you had that long beard after that one weekend where you did the Open Series and didn't shave, or you did commentary.
Rip Van Winkle.
Rip Van Lunen?
Yeah. Ben grabs a Tundra. Still no black mana for Ben. Perhaps he almost certainly has another land in his hand. Perhaps an Underground Sea?
Yeah, there it is. And a Thoughtseize from Ben.
A Knight and a Sword. That's really tough for Ben. Ben's going to go ahead and take the Jit, and then he's going to cast Swords to Plowshares on that Scavenging Ooze. And suddenly, like, things look pretty good for Ben now.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Snapcaster Mage comes down, reuses that Swords to Plowshares.
It's one of the things I really love about Legacy. Snapcaster Mage, Swords to Plowshares.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so much
love
fun.
that, yeah. All right, Kasali Pride Mage swinging for 3, I think. Yeah, and we've got Knight of the Reliquary.
Another Reliquary normally can just completely dominate a game, but this game's going to be a little bit different because Ben has Lingering Souls in his hand, and he's got Dan down to just about no cards, so... good grind thus far by Ben Hayes. Extremely strong start from Dan Jordan, but Ben won the die roll, and that's kept his head above water so far. If Ben had been on the draw, this game would have been a complete blowout.
Yeah, well, just to note, I assumed Dan was on some sort of bant list because of the turn 1 Noble Hierarch, but he's actually just Maverick.
Yeah.
And
pretty standard Maverick deck. Dan Jordan likes Maverick. That seems to be his go-to in Legacy formats. And a Stoneforge Mystic. Ben's going to grab an Umezawa's Jitte of his own.
And that is going to be trouble for Dan.
And if Ben casts this Umezawa's Jitte during his main phase, it puts Dan in a really awkward spot, because if Dan doesn't kill the Stoneforge Mystic, then next turn Ben's going to have Jit counters. But if Ben does kill the Stoneforge Mystic, or if Ben doesn't kill, or Dan doesn't kill the Stoneforge Mystic, then Ben will just be able to drop a Batterskull into play. So it's going to put Dan to a decision. Perhaps he's going to sacrifice the Pride Mage, deal with the Jit, and have some way to kill the Stoneforge Mystic. But
yeah, he needs to do both.
But Ben still has a Lingering Souls in his hand.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Pride Mage in for 3.
Yeah, Ben falling down to 9 there. It's actually for 4.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Hierarch.
In addition to its own Exalted Trigger. Such a powerful card. I remember when Watchwolf was good.
Oh yeah. I believe it was Zvi who previewed Watchwolf from Ravnica, and you know, when a 3/3 for 2 is the preview card, like that was how exciting it was. You know,
yeah.
This is the a preview card for the new set, and it's a white and a green for a 3/3. That's it.
Yeah, I played it at the Extended Pro Tour. This card's too good.
Yeah, gotta play Watchwolf. So Snapcaster Mage adds to his Arm Blaster with an Umezawa's Jitte.
Both those knights are just 3/3s, and only one of them is active. So even if... oh, this is actually interesting. I'm so surprised by this attack. He's basically just doing it for Jit counters.
Yeah, he's trading away the Snapcaster for some counters. All right, Knight gets in front of the Snapcaster.
Yeah, Dan can just put this Knight in front, and then he can use his Pride Mage to kill the Jit.
Yeah, Pride Mage does that, and Snapcaster appears to be headed to the graveyard as well.
So Dan just gets to gobble up a Snapcaster Mage. And I suppose Ben really wants that Batterskull to resolve, or to be able to stay in play.
And we have an activated Knight of the Reliquary.
But I mean, it is a little bit dangerous for Ben, because
we have a Wasteland on a...
By allowing that to happen during his combat step, now he's not going to have the option of Lingering Souls, and he's going to just have to Stoneforge Mystic this Batterskull into play right now.
Yeah, Dan found Wasteland with Knight of the Reliquary and used it to destroy Ben's Underground Sea, and
also make both of these knights into 5/5s.
Yeah.
What an unbelievable card Knight of the Reliquary is.
And it went for months without people playing it.
Oh yeah.
It was like a $2. I believe the foil was like $2.
Kind of mind-blowing thinking about it.
Right. It was like a $2 foil. Okay, so there's the Batterskull vialed in. Now Underground Sea goes to the graveyard. Snapcaster dies from that combat. Germ comes in upside down and is immediately flipped. That wasn't that relevant. But yeah, Knight of the Reliquary, Conflux came out, and then when we realized we were getting, I think when we figured out that Zendikar was going to be a land set, I think that's when Knight of the Reliquary, people were like, wait a second.
Yeah, that's when I bought mine when like the landfall thing got announced,
right?
And I got them for like 3 apiece.
Yeah, exactly. That's about the same thing that happened to me. It was just like, And that they had already, I think, probably gone up a little bit because of other people thinking the same thing. But still, 3 apiece for Knight of the Reliquary is pretty nice. So Sylvan Library from Dan Jordan, one of my favorite cards.
Yeah, Ben Hayes just falling dreadfully behind. Dan's going to attack for 6, and Ben's going to be put to a decision here because, yeah, he chumps.
Okay, so gain 4. That's nice. Give you a little more time, but
yeah, now Ben really needs to find his engineered explosives.
All right, looks like.
But if Dan decides to main phase a Wasteland, then Ben is on basically no outs.
I think that's what Dan's considering here. Yeah, so Knight of the Reliquary activated, Wasteland, hit your Tundra.
That's a hard play to make for a number of reasons, especially considering his draw step was Body and Mind, but he just played around exactly what he had to.
Oh well, Ben has a swamp, so he's protected from Wasteland, and Lingering Souls resolved.
Not quite going to be enough. Ben is at this point on a chump blocking plan.
Yeah, but he does have a lot of time.
He does
with all those chump blockers. So one of the best parts about Lingering Souls that people don't. You know, a lot of times Lingering Souls is an offensive card, but it's so much of a defensive card as well. All right, so
Dan decides to pay 4 life and get an extra card. That's Sylvan Library, and I think that's something people don't do often enough. People a lot of times use it as a top with 1 free activation every turn. When you're 23 and you're playing Maverick against the blue deck, a lot of the time it's right to just be like, I'll pay a lot.
Yeah, 4 life for that card. That works.
4 life for that one, 4 life for this one. Usually you just pay 4 at a time and then just take fetch lands and spells.
Right. Green Sun Zenith for 2.
And I assume it's a Pride Mage.
Or Scavenging Ooze. Does he have another Scavenging Ooze?
That would be pretty good too.
He does. And that's not what it is. Okay. I just thought maybe he was more worried about the Lingering Souls and having another beater, but Pride Mage takes care of Batterskull. Didn't feel like Batterskull was too much of a threat, but I guess Ben playing land equip would have made it a lot more scary. So
well, this is
I like the
Pride
Mage play.
Yeah, this is a nice play from Dan because it allows him to develop his mana, and now he's going to get to use the Body in Mind next turn, and also kind of dismantle Ben's plan all at the same time. Whereas if he had just searched for another Wasteland, like he would have prevented a Spirit from picking up a Batterskull, but he would choke himself at the same time.
And Ben goes with a Tundra, so I don't know that.
Oh wow, Ben's right back in this game. Ben drew a Swords to Plowshares and was slow rolling that Snapcaster Mage in his hand for a long time.
And so he swords Snapcaster Swords to take care of both knights. Wow.
And that's why you play Snapcaster Mage and Swords to Plowshares in your Legacy deck.
Wow.
I didn't know Ben was slow rolling a Snapcaster Mage.
I didn't realize.
That changed the entire dynamic.
Yeah, he just swung the entire game. Like, that was a huge swing. The knights were what were,
Dan's not out of this.
Oh, I don't think he's out of it. I just think that Ben's way back in it. And
definitely.
Now we have Sword of Body in Mind and the Mother of Runes. Dan's side of the table.
Dan is at 30 because of the Swords to Plowshares, and you do not want your opponent to be at 30 when he has a Sylvan Library in play.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's frustrating about casting Swords to Plowshares on an 8/8 night when your opponent has a 7 life brain play. Like, you're basically giving your opponent a free Ancestor Recall. Yeah, so they get 2 cards and you have to spend 1. I call that Ancestor Recall. Alright, so let's see. Yeah, at 26 now. You may just pay a bunch of life. Just keep them all.
He is thinking about it. Okay, looks like he
takes 1.
Yeah.
Gives his Noble Hierarch protection from white.
Equip, swing, Hierarch in for 3, and sword triggers, get a wolf, and there's a wolf. And meantime, Ben has milled.
Mills 10 cards, doesn't hit a Lingering Souls.
No Lingering Souls. Although, yeah, he flashed back the other one that he already.
Yeah.
I believe he flashed it back. I see.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, looking at what's in the graveyard, I see Stoneforge Mystic, and I believe it's Swords, because I think it was 2 Snapcasters maged Swords to Plowshares, but there still may be a Lingering Souls off camera. I just don't know. I think there may be another Lingering Souls in his graveyard, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I don't see it now. So.
Ben really, really, really wants to draw Zealous Persecution. Oh, he doesn't have it main deck.
Well, he still really, really wants to draw it. Actually, no. If he draws it, he's probably
he doesn't want to draw
trouble. Yeah, please don't draw my Zealous Persecution. Oh, okay. He's flashed back 2 Lingering Souls.
Yeah, I think he top decked 1, so he just played it and flashed it back.
Yeah.
5, and then.
So yeah, that was the first one was the one we were discussing, and then the second one he just drew.
And what else can Ben do? Ben has. What's in his
Dan's
graveyard?
still at
Does he have? So he didn't mill the explosives. That's a very live card in his graveyard. A topic Snapcaster Mage is insane for him right now. Swords to Plowshares is very good. Vindicate very good.
Dan's still at a healthy 21.
I guess Swords isn't very good. Double Mom.
Yeah. So he probably does similar thing as last turn. Oh no, doing something different here. Okay. Moves the sword to the Mother of Runes.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Swords is a live card again.
I believe he gave it protection from white with the other Mother, though. So he gave the Mother with the sword protection from white.
Another Jason spell by Ben.
Yeah,
I mean, gets a Lingering Souls for free. Gets another Lingering Souls for free. Alright, so Ben just got 2 free Lingering Souls, which is pretty nice for him.
But he is at only 4 life, and I think, you know, unless he finds a way to answer that Mother, he's not, because Dan's just going to kill him, yeah. That Mother attacked for, what, 3/5 right there? So Ben, with all the spirits...
So that was a tight play by Dan last turn, because that made it a 2-turn clock instead of a 3-turn clock. That extra 1 point of damage from Mom's 1 power. Ben's life total hadn't been updated, so... Okay. Wait, he didn't Vindicate the sword?
I think it was... Okay, again, the players discuss the play without actually playing it out, and it's unclear what happened. To Vindicate, you think he vindicates the sword, and could he not vindicate the sword for some reason? There's no reason why he couldn't vindicate the sword. He's at 4 life. Dan, I mean, he just can chump block for days.
Oh, no. He just taps 2 Moms, gives 2 Wolves Pro White.
Oh, the
attacks.
Wolves.
But doesn't Ben have a...
I forgot he had 2 Wolves.
But Ben has a Snapcaster in play, doesn't he?
He did. He does, yeah.
So, he just doesn't attack the Snapcaster. Right, am I mean, I'm probably missing something.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. He gives a Wolf Pro Blue and Pro White, and then attacks with it, and it has 2 Exalted triggers.
Oh, there it is.
Sorry, guys.
It's hard to tell when you don't have it right in front of you. They just we cut away. They scoop up the cards. It's like, wait a minute, what did he have?
When you're sitting there playing in the game, it's really easy to recognize those things. When you're watching it, sometimes it's not as clear because you're not as invested. Trying to keep up with the play-by-play.
Right. You're paying attention to.
Sight of,
we're paying attention a lot more than I think even the players are paying attention to. Not only that, we've got 2 players to pay attention to, trying to see their hands, trying to assume what's in their hands, trying to see what could they draw for both of them, looking at deck lists, and missing plays because of that. You're trying to figure things out there, but yeah. So Dan does manage to take game 1, although Ben did a really good job of swinging the game back in his favor at one point, but sort of body and mind really did it.
Yeah, sort of body and mind really helped Dan close that one. I think the major issue there was that, Ben, it took him so long to draw that Sword Supply share, so he didn't have any brainstorms or anything, that the Knights had gotten too big. And then by the time he was actually able to assemble the Sword Snapcaster combo, Dan had already had the Knights to a big enough point where they just fueled his Sylvan Library, and Dan drew 4 extra cards off that Sylvan Library and had Library Manipulation and Fetch Lands throughout the duration of that game. So
yeah, it was odd. The non-blue deck seemed to have more manipulation. Yeah. So looking out to my left at all the players still playing, there's Nick Spagnuolo at the top table. Who's his opponent?
Max Teets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
His face is, he's got his back to me.
Max and Nick are arch nemesis.
Oh, yeah?
So that's actually, I'm really surprised that's not a future match.
What are we doing? Tell these guys to get up. I'm just kidding.
Max Teets and Nick Spagnuolo have played each other in the top 8 of PTQs. I think like over 5 times.
Wow.
Both like 2 of in like the 2009 to 2011 era, they were in the top 8 of like pretty much every single PTQ in the Northeast. And PTQs in the Northeast are like over 300 players, so making the top 8 of every single one of those PTQs is a really hard feat to achieve. Not only that, but once you're in the top 8, the top 8 is always like littered with Pro Tour champions. The last PTQ I won had 3 Pro Tour champions in the top 8.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Looking at Ben's sideboard here, he's got 2 copies of Zealous Persecution, as you mentioned. I think that's a pretty good card to bring in here. Takes out Dan's Hierarchs, takes out Dan's Mother of Runes. We saw Mother of Runes completely. Oh no, it's not his. Yeah, it takes out his Hierarchs, Mother of Runes. Mother of Runes definitely had a huge impact on that last game.
Now, what I'm really excited about from Ben's sideboard is Perish.
Yeah, Perish is going to do it too. And we have a turn 1 Noble Hierarch from Dan. He's got an additional Engineered Explosives. I could see him bringing in. He basically 6 Wraths.
Yeah.
Seems good. Seems pretty good. Oh, and one of them also pumps my guys if I happen to be.
One of the most exciting plays I've seen in this entire tournament, Ben Hayes was playing, it was turn 4 of extra time. He had to win that turn or it would be a draw. And before his draw step, he said Zealous Persecution 1 time, drew first turn, drew Zealous Persecution, cast it, and attacked for exactly lethal with his Spirit tokens.
Yeah, it's and having a
Sometimes you need an
Snapcaster to do
honor
it,
here.
having Snapcaster to flash it back, it's just like, hey, mini overrun, like, what?
the Snapcaster flash it back. It's like
Plague
Wind overrun.
Yeah.
For 6 mana, and you get a
Zealous
2/1.
Persecution. Zealous Persecution. Snapcaster Mage, Zealous Persecution. Yeah, it cost me 8 mana, but you have no board, and also I just +3 to all my guys. So, Mystic Gate there from Ben.
Dan Jordan playing a choke, and
Yeah.
Ben Hayes has a Mystic Gate.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jerry
man.
Thompson also was playing Mystic Gate earlier.
You're looking at Ben's deck list, though. There aren't many lands that are unaffected by that choke. That choke is going to hurt him pretty bad this game.
Well, especially if Dan resolves a Knight and then just wastelands away the Mystic Gate and the Glacial Fortress. You know, islands. I mean, every other blue source is an island. I'm not looking. I don't see any other blue sources that besides one Mystic Gate, one Glacial Fortress. So
Dan Jordan wisely playing the Caracas before he casts Thalia and then leaving it untapped. This prevents Ben from being able to use Swords to Plowshares on Thalia. And when you have a choke in play and a Thalia against base blue deck, pretty hard for them.
yeah, I love seeing these. You know, at this point in the game, it's. I mean, this is Dan's game to lose. He's got, yeah,
It is entirely possible for Ben to win this game still.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
clear.
he's still got the Mystic Gate. He's still got access to blue at this point. But and he's got a Batterskull in play. Batterskull viled in at the end of Dan's turn and now attacking. Dan blocks with Thalia and returns it with Caracas before damage. So nice little tricky plays out of Caracas.
Ben producing 2 blue mana off this Mystic Gate, presumably, probably going to Brainstorm, look for a fetch land. That way he can grab a basic that's not an island and get rid of some of these islands in his hand that are, you know, really, really awkward draws when your opponent has a choke already resolved.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Ben, though,
I don't think he found
what he's looking for. So he may have to put back, you know, that Tundra and another card, and then use the other blue mana he made off that Mystic Gate to ponder, which I believe he has. I believe that's the second card in his hand, and he's going to look at the top 3. He knows what 2 of them are, but
he has a fetch land.
Oh, he did find the fetch land. Okay, that's
yeah,
really
found
big
it already.
for him.
Had it. Yeah, I think he just found it, but he's still got a blue mana floating. He's got at least another Brainstorm in hand, and potentially a Ponder. I didn't see it, but if you saw it. So he gets a Plains with the Marsh Flats.
It may have been a Mana Leak, actually.
Okay.
Not a Ponder. It was a blue card.
I know.
And it wasn't Force of Will.
I know I saw another Brainstorm. I know he's got Jace. There's Ponder. So that is what he's using his other blue floating mana on. We see Underground Sea, Stoneforge Mystic, and another Jace. He's got Swords, Jace, Brainstorm. I keep seeing Swords, Jace. Keeps flipping those back and forth, but I think he's...
That's interesting. If Ben had done all this pre-combat, which I think would probably be the advisable thing to do, he would have been able to attack with that Batterskull and then would have been able to Swords to Plowshares the Thalia in response to the Caracas activation.
He wouldn't have been able to do it all pre-combat because Thalia would have cost him.
You're right. Thalia would have made that.
All that would have cost a lot. Yeah, a lot more. It would not have worked.
The means to an end.
And there's the Thalia again from Dan. And there's a Kasali Pride Mage. And pay 1, destroy your Batterskull. So no Thalia tricks with Caracas this turn. Caracas just provides Dan with the opportunity to destroy a Batterskull. I like that play.
Seems good enough to me.
Dan is just like, can I draw Wasteland, please, and get rid of that Mystic Gate? Because that would really help. At least that's what I'd be thinking if I were Dan.
Yeah, the turn 2 choke, and then when you're put in place a Mystic Gate after that,
You're like,
that's
really?
pretty frustrating.
We have Swords to Plowshares. Gotta pay 2 for that, yeah. So, Swords to Plowshares on Thalia. Alright, so Thalia goes away. That helps Ben a little bit.
Evan's got a little bit of a decision. He can play an Underground Sea and cast a Stoneforge Mystic, but then the Underground Sea is never ever going to untap ever again. It's also pretty clear, though, that Dan doesn't really... If you play it and don't cast that...
Well, that's what he's going with. Underground Sea, Stoneforge Mystic, get presumably a Jitte. I mean, he's got... Yeah, it's just going to be a Jitte. He was checking to see if he had any other options. Just one Batter Skull, which we see in the graveyard under the Swords to Plowshares. And Dan resolves Gaddock Teague.
Pretty good against Jason the Mind Sculptor. Oof. And the Sylvan Library for Dan.
Man, watching Legacy on these weekends makes me just want to build all these Legacy decks. Like, yeah. I want to build that deck. That looks so much fun. I want to build that deck.
These decks are so sweet.
Yeah.
Avenger with Zealous Persecution. Just passes the turn. Ooh. This Zealous Persecution can be pretty juicy.
Kind of heat now. Just trying to see. Man, it would be nice if he could. Well, no, that wouldn't. If he has Snapcaster, no, he can't do that. He doesn't have enough mana to do Snapcaster Zealous, like Zealous Snapcaster Zealous.
Dan at 12 took a few extra cards from that Sylvan Library. That's a Jitte of his own.
Yeah. Appears he's gonna try to play Equip and get use out of it before Ben can use the Legend rule to get rid of it. No, maybe not. Okay. I assumed that Dan was...
Yeah, now, because he didn't equip, Ben's probably just going to take this hit.
Yeah, I mean, presumably Dan's leaving open Caracas for anything that could potentially take out that Gaddock Teague, because he knows how good that Gaddock Teague is here.
But then again, if you're Ben, like, there are a lot of cards that Dan could have in his hand where slow rolling and Zealous Persecution is just throwing away 3 life. So it might be hard to not Zealous Persecution in this spot if you're in the actual game. He's obviously tanking about it. Like, he knows that this is kind of a decision. Like, does Dan have Kasali Pride Mage, Scavenging Ooze, or Mother of Runes? If he has Mother of Runes, it's correct to wait. If he has either of the other two, it's correct to double block. Yeah. Which is what he ends up choosing to do.
Double block, Zealous Persecution. Zealous Persecution just costs a black and a white, right? So...
Yeah, so he's going to have a blue floating.
Okay.
And then he'll be able to Brainstorm.
Okay.
And I mean, not the Brainstorm you really want, but when you're under choke lock, you can't really Brainstorm optimally without just throwing away huge amounts of value.
Alright, so Dan, with the option to return his Gaddock Teague, and that's what he does. So he manages to save the Gaddock Teague, can't save the Noble Hierarch. Mother of Runes comes down for Dan.
Ben's got to be a little bit frustrated with that. This is one of those funny games. Like Ben casts Zel's Persecution and Dan casts Mother Birds. He's like, man.
Yeah.
Dan casts Choke and Ben played Mystic Gate.
Well, if he has Land Snapcaster, then he can Snapcaster that Zealous Persecution. So he didn't use that blue then for anything, I guess. Or whatever that floating mana was. Presumably. I didn't see a Brainstorm cast.
Yeah, I don't think he used it.
He just didn't do anything.
Dan hasn't found a Wasteland either.
And we've got a Sylvan Library, sees Hierarch, second choke. They really don't untap. That looks like a choke to you? Is that what it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now Dan's got to be worried about Snapcaster Zel's Persecution here.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see him. Normally you would play the Noble Hierarch's pre-combat to get extra Exalted triggers, but I don't know if he has that luxury this turn.
And there's a Gaddock Teague. And tap 2 for another Stoneforge Mystic. Can you see Dan's list real quick? Dan, what did he grab? I didn't see it. I looked at his deck list. I didn't see what he grabbed. He's presumably sort of Body in Mind or sort of Light and Shadow.
I think he got Light and Shadow.
Okay. I was checking to see if he had any more Jittes, and he does not. And
all right, Ben is able to...
yeah, Legend
Ben
rules
is
out
able
the other
to
Jitte.
Vindicate this choke now, but he doesn't know that Dan has another choke on the top of his library. So...
I don't know that he has the choke anymore. He just searched for equipment.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
So
he shuffled. He shuffled away the choke. And is he attacking right now with a Stoneforge Mystic, or is he activating it?
I think he's activating
I thought he paid 2, yeah. Looked like he paid 2 to activate it. This is going to be a tough... Oh, there's a Snapcaster Mage in Ben's hand. I'm pretty sure that was a Snapcaster.
yeah, both players far.
So here we go. Snapcaster, Zealous Persecution, wreck your board. I mean,
well,
wreck your Mother of Runes.
Deal with the most important card.
Yeah.
On the table.
Sort of wreck your board. And it is sort of Light and Shadow. And there's a Wasteland, and that's gonna make it real tough for Ben to play any blue spells anymore.
Yeah, Ben does have Vindicate for the choke.
That's right, I forgot.
But it's going to be tough for him to survive when there's a sword on the table and a Sword to Plowshares in your opponent's hand, and he's about to Wasteland your only blue source.
Alright, Gaddock Teague picks up Sword of Light and Shadow. Oh, maybe he doesn't. He reached for it. Alright, Swords to Plowshares on Snapcaster Mage. Now Gaddock Teague reaches for the sword and gets it. And we have a Noble Hierarch. And Gaddock Teague in for 5 there.
Yep, 5 damage. Wasteland on Mystic Gate. Dan has played this game perfectly to a T. He's played around those Zel's Persecutions amazingly well. Really impressive play from Dan Jordan here. Ben does gain 2 from the Swords to Plowshares, and Dan is only at 7, but...
Now we're going to check. Those life totals are not correct,
the life totals are not
okay, so
correct,
Ben's at 20 and Dan's at 15, at 10.
That makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah. Well, Dan gained 3, I think, just off of the sword, and Ben gained 2 off of the swords to plowshares. So, All right, so here we go with, looks like Vindicate's coming. Tap 3, Vindicate your choke.
The choke's already done so much work this game.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know, like, he finally has a Vindicate for the choke, and now he's got another threat that he needs to worry about in the Sword of Light and Shadow.
And Sword of Light and Shadow is hard to deal with when you're playing against swords as Lingering Souls. So I mean, when you're playing Legacy,
Yeah.
Normally the sword people have is Feast and Famine.
Yeah, Light and Shadow is not. I am actually like sitting here going, what does Light and Shadow do besides pro black, pro white? It's like Raised Dead healing salve, right? Yeah. Which seems terrible when you. I mean, not terrible, but like seems.
But in
like,
comparison to the other swords.
But what?
In comparison to the other swords, doesn't seem very good.
That's what I mean.
But
yeah.
when you're playing a deck that has Kasali Pride Mages and just all these super powerful creatures, and Lingering Souls is like
great
one of the
here, yeah.
best cards in the format. Suddenly, Sort of Light and Shadow becomes really good.
Right.
That's one of the fun parts about Legacies. You see all these super powerful cards, but you also see all these cards that are kind of like a little weird that just turn out to be awesome in the format.
And Gaddock Teague gets 2 Exalted triggers after a fresh Kasali Pride Mage is cast, and a Mother of Runes from Dan Jordan. So, I think that, Mother of Runes picks up the sword, or Gaddock Teague hands it to her, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And another, another Noble Hierarch. I'm surprised he didn't just play that earlier.
They probably should have played the Noble Hierarch pre-combat.
One more damage, yeah.
A little bit of a gaffe by Dan, but...
I forgot I had this. Oh yeah, I'll play that too. So, Dan with Caracas open to protect the Gaddock Teague. So no more choke gives Ben access to 2 more mana this turn.
Now Dan's going to have to move that sword before he attacks, I assume, which is going to give Ben an opportunity to Zealous Persecution the Mom away, and also Zealous Persecution away a pair of Noble Hierarchs. But
we have Snapcaster, Vindicate the sword.
Okay.
Okay.
That's completely fine.
That makes sense. Passes back. All right, so
This is such a
Dan
game.
with no cards in hand, I believe. Draws off of his Sylvan library, sees Land, and Green Sun Zenith. So
pretty good one. What is Dan going to be searching for here with Green Sun Zenith?
I wonder how many lands are in his graveyard.
It's either going to be a Scavenging Ooze or a Nether Reliquary.
Okay, so it looks like Gaddock Teague.
Coming in for
He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. Okay, Mother of Runes gives him pro white, presumably, or I don't even know, pro white or blue. I guess pro white, yeah. So chump blocked. There. Did he just put the Gaddock Teague back in his hand?
back in his hand so that he can play Green Sun Zenith.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that makes
an
sense.
X in its casting cost. So.
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. I was looking for the Caracas.
I always thought it was weird when people play Gaddock Teague and Green Sun in the same decks,
Yeah.
but at the point where that really matters, like you're only really playing Gaddock Teague or like getting it when it's really good against your opponent, like it's preventing a Jace from crushing you.
Yeah.
And late in the game, you can knight for Caracas and just bounce the Gaddock Teague to your hand and then use your Sun Zeniths anyway. So
yeah, I was confused because I don't see the Caracas. I'm like, did he tap the Caracas and return it? I'm
under
like,
a
where's the
little box
Caracas?
there.
Yeah. So I just thought he just picked it up.
yeah, I mean the game's gone on so long, it's like very easy to forget that the Caracas was ever there in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I know he kept it open pretty much at every opportunity to protect the Gaddock Teague, and there it is. Okay.
All right, now here's where Ben goes parish hunting.
And he draws off a Brainstorm.
Yep, he found one. This is such a good game.
They got to worry about going to time. It's got to be getting late in the round.
Yeah, but, you know, so this is really interesting because, okay, Ben kind of just has to perish, right? But Dan has done an exceptional job making it so that if Ben does perish, then he's still going to have Gaddock Teeg in his hand. And because he still has that Gaddock Teeg, Ben's not going to be able to resolve Jace the next turn.
Thoughtseize.
Oh, never mind. All right, so suddenly Ben's in a commanding position.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
God,
I mean, it looked like it. Look at the board state. It's actually, I think it favors Dan. He's got a Mother of Runes and he's got a Sylvan library.
But Ben
has a Jace. Ben, which is a blue Sylvan library.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
A significantly better blue Sylvan library. Jace the Mind Sculptor is a powerful Magic card. Dan, poking Ben for 1.
Yeah. And we've got another Mother.
Ben's gonna drop himself down to 5 here. Hunting
Tundra,
okay. Now Ben has to go Zealous Persecution hunting. Or Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster Mage will do it here.
oh
no,
wait, did he already? He already
short.
did that. How many Zealous Persecutions has he drawn? Just one, right?
Just
and he's
one.
He
Snapcastered one back already?
No, actually no. He Snapcaster Vindicated. That's
yeah,
right.
I thought he did.
And Ben casts Sun Titan. Oh no, it's Jace the Mind Sculptor. So
Jace the Mind Sculptor.
The blue Sylvan
Powerful
library.
Wizard. Yeah. For Rainstorm.
Looks like land and land.
I think he may have a Lingering Souls in there.
Yeah, I think there's a Lingering Souls at the back of his hand, but otherwise he's got land on land. So, I think.
Yeah, so he's probably going to want to put 2 lands back.
Put 2 lands back, play the Flooded Strand.
The big issue, though, is that by doing that, he changes Dan's clock to turn clock.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really have much of a choice.
So, Lingering Souls. Ben Hayes at 4 life facing down. What did we get?
Dan's dead.
What was it?
Yeah. Elspeth, Knight Errant.
Oh, wow. Yeah, just...
It's good enough.
That is it, right off the top. Dan Jordan. He played that game so well, and it started looking like Ben had turned the corner.
Yeah, and both of them played really tight Magic.